Tonight's 2018 Living Water Gala is brought to you by the number 5 and the letter R.
The letter R is for rooted, and I can't think of a more appropriate word for the theme of this year's gala. As followers of Christ, we are rooted in God's love and called to share that love with the world.
Did you know that the word radical means of or proceeding from a root? The word radical actually comes from the Latin word for root.
The disciples in the time of Christ were radicals, and as radicals, they had to be very well rooted. When you are well rooted, you don't tip over in a storm. When you are well rooted, you produce amazing fruits.
When you're a radical, you stand out. You're different from the rest. The disciples in the time of Christ were radicals. They saw that the root of their belief in Christ was love. Love of Christ, love for the poor, love for your neighbor, love for the immigrant, love for the thirsty. Love is the root.
You may already know the story of Paper for Water. My sister Catherine and I started this organization when we were only 5 and 8 years old. At the time, we were not the root. We were leaves and branches emanating from an existing root structure that originated with our parents and their families.
The root structure Isabel alluded to is comprised of hundreds of volunteers and supporters that make everything that we do possible. We are so grateful to have the support of my entire family, and many of them are here tonight celebrating with us. And before becoming an Adams, I was a Waters. And so now our slogan is, Waters for Water. We are thankful to be a small part of the powerful and amazing work that Living Water is doing to transform lives around the world. Everyone here tonight has the opportunity to be a supporting root for this amazing tree of life.
In my family, we've had 7 generations of Presbyterian ministers. Our root structure is firm. My great-grandfather, Isaac Adams, was a Christian radical. He made his church a stop on the Underground Railroad and almost got kicked out of the Presbyterian church trying to help slaves to freedom. He knew that Jesus values us all the same and was willing to break the law to free people he saw as children of God. My grandfather, James Adams, left the comforts of Topeka, Kansas in 1895 to travel to Korea, which at that time was a developing country. He planted over 60 churches, 40 of which are still active and 10 of which are mega churches with 6,000 members or more. My father, George Adams' work is much more literal in our talk about being rooted. He planted orchards all over Korea and participated in animal husbandry efforts. When we visited in 1998, an elderly Korean man said that if it hadn't been for my father's work, he would not have survived the harsh winters after the Korean War to be alive to be a member of my grandfather's church.
We have literally traveled the whole world. And one of the things that I've learned while traveling is that I am incredibly blessed to be born in the United States. We complain when the Wi-Fi goes out or the AC isn't blowing cold enough. But having a house with running water and not suffering from waterborne diseases is a huge blessing.
There are 844 million people who still lack access to basic drinking water service. This is unacceptable. Paper for Water has funded over 30 water projects in India alone, and the change that we witnessed when we traveled there was phenomenal. We can change the world water crisis together.
Take the word rooted to heart. How deep are your roots planted in the word of the Lord? How rooted is your desire to bring water and the word to the thirsty? How will your roots give rise to the next generation? And what fruits will your legacy bear?
If My sisters and all our volunteers and donors can fund 170 water projects. You can think seriously about funding one with your family. Commit to planting your roots deep. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to celebrate with you.